The Giants suffered their fifth straight loss on Sunday, this one coming in Munich, Germany, as they fell to the Panthers 20-17 in overtime. So let's talk about the G-Men. We're going to do it with a host from WFAN, the great Daniel McCartan, joins me now. Danielle, how are you doing? I hope you're doing better than the Giants.
Yeah, it was a bad day, wasn't it, Dexter? Oh, my God.
Yeah, it was a rough one. It was a rough one out there. And for the Giants fans who got up early, sorry. You had to watch that. But the Giants' recent loss to the Panthers in Munich, it marks their fifth straight defeat, as I mentioned. Do you think this was the lowest point of their season? Or, I feel like this is a fair question to ask, could things get even worse from here?
I mean, I don't know. It was a bad showing against a bad team that actually kept the Giants in the game late. I mean, the Panthers couldn't even run the clock out properly to close out the game. So the Giants got the ball back with about 2:30 left in the game and had to settle for a game-tying field goal. So go ahead and look at that schedule. Spoiler alert, it isn't getting any easier. I don't see where many more wins are going to come from. So ultimately, to answer your question, I mean, I hate to be the bearer of bad news here, but until the Giants can prove that they can win a game and close out a game, rock bottom is going to continue to get redefined each and every passing week.
That does not give hope to any Giants fans. We'll get to how the fans feel a little bit later. Now, here's what we got to talk about. We have to talk about the quarterback. After another poor showing, how would you assess Daniel Jones' performance and what's been his biggest struggle in these recent games that we've watched? Does it look like he's the right fit for this team moving forward? Is it time to move on? What do you say, Danielle?
Yeah, that's a lot, right? Let me start by saying I've been a staunch Daniel Jones defender for a very long time. But it's time to see it for what it is. He's damaged goods. He's shown no improvement at this point. So, I mean, today it was a typical Daniel Jones performance. Mr. Inconsistent. Good at times. The 96-yard touchdown drive was good. Bad at other times. So the bad, it was like really bad. 2 red zone INTs, unacceptable. Dable kept going back to that in the post-game presser a few different times, 3 or 4 different times, and saying we can't have that. And then for me, the ultimate I've seen enough was on that flea flicker. It was actually executed perfectly. If you freeze frame it, you see both Robinson and Neighbors were wide open deep down the field. There was a clean pocket, and Daniel Jones had the ball cocked back, ready to let it fly. But for some inexplicable reason, he did it. He was gun shy. And I don't want to jump the gun here, but I'd venture to the guess that that could have gone for a touchdown. Each open wide receiver just had one man to beat. So that poor read on that flea flicker was enough for me, the president of the Daniel Jones fan club, to resign to moving on from him. It was egregiously bad, and it's just time to move on.
Man, I did not know that you were the president of the Daniel Jones fan club. I had no idea. I knew you were out here defending him, but now you're saying it's time to move on. If the president said it's time to move on, then I don't really have much to add to that. But let's also talk about Tyrone Tracy Jr. He had some crucial miscues in this game. How much do you think his mistakes impacted the game, and do these errors reflect a larger issue within the team as a whole?
Yeah, I mean, I felt so bad for him at the end of that game. I mean, he was actually crying for the world to see, honestly. So, I mean, I don't know. I think the interception in the red zone was actually not his fault. Daniel Jones threw the ball behind him, and that's impossible to break that play up when all of your momentum is going in the opposite direction. But the fumble was hard, man. Let's just not pinpoint that, though. I mean, how about if Graham Gano makes his first field goal? The field goal at the end of regulation could have been to win, not tie the game. We could play that game, too. So there's plenty of blame to go around today. And let's not try to pin down one of the only bright spots of this offense. Tracy finished the day at 103 yards and a touchdown. And you know what I did love to see? I don't know if Daniel Jones did it, too, because the cameras didn't catch it. They definitely didn't catch it. But the cameras did catch Tommy DeVito going over to him and giving him a little pep talk while he was devastated on the bench. And that's leadership, and that's a great teammate, and I love to see that. But is it indicative of I mean, he's a rookie, so I think he's been one of the lone bright spots on this offense. So let's not pin that loss completely on Tyrone Tracy.
Yeah, I don't think it's fair to pin it on him, and he has been a bright spot of this offense, as you said, particularly as a rookie this season, and we'll see how he is able to bounce back from this. Now, with the Giants sitting at the bottom of the division, Danielle, what changes, if any, do you think need to be made to shake things up? Could we see changes to the coaching staff, like we saw with the Jets earlier season, or the starting lineup soon? What do you think should happen here in terms of changes with the Giants?
I mean, I think the coaching staff and the front office, they're going to remain completely intact until they could pick their own quarterback. Daboll was asked about it after the game, and he said the quarterback decision, he's like, we've got a lot of work to do here. We'll evaluate where we're at and what we need to do. The change I do expect to see coming out of the bye week is a brand new starting quarterback. Why? Because the Giants, quite like simply and succinctly, they would owe Daniel Jones a guaranteed $23 million if he gets hurt and can't pass the offseason physical. So knowing the grit with which he plays, and you can't take that away from him, I would sit him on the bench and protect my pocketbook moving forward. Plus, this is the time, if they're going to make a switch, this is the time. There is plenty of time to acclimate a new quarterback into this mix. They've got 14 calendar days until they play their next game. So while I think the coaching staff and the front office is officially safe, I officially and fully expect to see a change at quarterback moving forward. And I think we have seen the last of Daniel Jones in a Giants uniform.
All right, some Giants fans are going to say, hey, I'm not going to believe that until I see it. I understand their point on that. We will see what happens. I think it's something to watch very closely, obviously, this week coming up.
Sure.
Now, looking ahead, Danielle, last thing for me, what do you think the Giants' priorities should be for the rest of the season? Should they aim to stay competitive, which would change if they move on from Daniel Jones, or is it time to focus, which I feel like what you're leaning to, on rebuilding and preparing for next year?
Yeah, you caught my drift pretty well. I mean, you want to continue to be competitive, right? From a coaching perspective, you run the risk of creating just this complacency with losing in the locker room, and you don't want that. That is the kiss of death for everyone involved in the entire operation. So yeah, you want to stay competitive because honestly, this roster, especially that defense, just isn't good enough to string together many more wins anyway. And I mean, today it looked like Joe Montana and Barry Sanders were out there in Panthers uniforms. There is no improvement in that unit from week to week. So ultimately, the silver lining and what I think a lot of Giants fans are happy about and rooting for today, as of right now, the time of us filming this, the New York Giants are on the clock with the first overall pick in next season's draft. So there's a different type of scoreboard watching going on among the Big Blue faithful, and you can't blame them.
All right, Danielle saying that it is tanking time for fans of Big Blue.
No, I'm not a fan of tanking. You remain competitive, but you're not taking any games.
I got you. She's just saying okay, let me take that back. Watching the scoreboard, as you said, to put in your words, in a different way. That's what I'll say. Watching the scoreboard in a different way. Either way, it's giving the Giants fans something to look forward to as we move towards the end of the season. That is a great Danielle McCartan, always doing a fantastic job talking football with me on Sundays, breaking down the Giants lost their 5th in the row to the Panthers out in Germany. Danielle, thank you for the time. We will talk soon.
Yeah, talk soon, Dexter. Thank you.